Hawaii. I'm Chairman Joseph Byrd, and welcome to Quapaw, Oklahoma, home of the Quapaw Nation, the Ogakpa. The story of our people is one of resilience and determination. Please join me as we take a closer look into the story of our success through the lens of our tribe, our culture, and our people. Welcome to the Chairman's Fireside Chat. I hope you enjoy it. Good morning, and welcome to the first edition of the Chairman's Fireside Chat. I'm your host, Chairman Joseph Byrd, and with me this morning I have the General Manager of the Downstream Casino Resort, Mr. Stuart Grayson. And with that, I'd like to ask a few questions and just really get to know Mr. Grayson and kind of have him give an update, a general update to the people as to where we are with our casino property and where we're going to be going into the future. So, Stuart, if you don't mind, welcome and thanks for coming aboard this morning. And if you could, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
I will. Thank you so much. It's my honor to be here. Thank you for having me this morning. As Chairman said, my name is Stuart Grayson. I am the General Manager for Downstream. I have been in tribal gaming since 2004. I started as a security guard in a 100-room facility or 100-game facility in Fort Gibson, Oklahoma. So when I started, we didn't have live surveillance. We used VHS tapes. So it's about every 8 hours we had to change the tapes. So we've come a long way. It's been exciting to see all the changes for tribal gaming and what it's done for all the tribes. So it's exciting. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. Well, we're excited to have you on board.
Thank you.
And just a tidbit for the viewers and really our citizens, I think that it's interesting to note that you are our first ever Native American general manager that has served in this position at the Downstream. And that kind of falls in line with what we are going to accomplish here and some of the expectations that we've set for ourselves and putting Native Americans to work because that's not just positive for the Quapaw people, but it's also a positive for all of Indian country.
It ensures the future success of Quapaw people, I believe. Okay. So being Native, employing Native, I think is one of the most important things that I can bring to the table. When I started at Cherokee, it wasn't the emphasis that it is now, and I saw how they developed that and they made that an emphasis. I think that's something that we can do here, that we should be doing here with our tribal citizens here.
I think that's great, thank you. Now you mentioned, from humble beginnings.
Yes,
in
very humble
working
beginnings.
Security surveillance. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us a little bit about the positions that you've held since then, previous to your position now?
So started security guard, moved over to accounting. I know that's a far stretch, but I got my business degree with an emphasis in accounting. I did corporate accounting, moved over to revenue audit. From revenue audit, I did compliance. And then I got an opportunity to move into operations. So I took that opportunity and started working at Hard Rock Tulsa. And from that position on, I just excelled and moved on, and it got me to where I am today. So I love operations, I love the casino. So I'm very fortunate to do something that I love every day. So.
Yeah, that makes it easier to come into work.
Absolutely.
Whenever you enjoy your job,
Yeah, it's not like work sometimes. So.
And so, when did you actually start here as the general manager?
The 1st of November.
Okay.
2020.
And when you first came into the property, what did you notice? What stood out to you?
The first thing you notice is just the size and the scope of the property. It is a beautiful layout, beautiful landscaping. The buffaloes that you cannot mimic that anywhere else for a property. It is just a phenomenal experience driving up to the property at night, seeing the lights, seeing the buffalo. It's a phenomenal experience. The gaming floor, the finishings, some of the things that we have here are state-of-the-art, first-class amenities that we have. So
Yeah.
it's a beautiful property.
Yeah.
So,
Now you mentioned you started November 1st as the general manager,
Yes.
and when you came onto property, you noticed just how large it was, and
Beautiful.
the beautiful property. As a Quapaw person, we are extremely proud of the Downstream.
yes,
This is what we call our mothership in terms of our casino properties. And, we understand that it's a tremendous asset to all of the tribe.
absolutely.
So with that, there's always room for growth, room for development, room to better ourselves. So I'm hoping that you could maybe speak to some of those factors in where you see us heading into the future.
So, immediate future, I think some of the things I've focused on right now would be leadership, communication, and internal controls. Making sure we've got the right people in the right place, we're communicating the changes and things that have been happening, and we have the internal controls to make sure that we're covering and taking care of the assets of the property. But 3-4 years down the road, I'd like to see an investment, a reinvestment in the property. Some of our F&B venues, some of our bars probably haven't been touched since opening, and they're beautiful, but I think a refresh and kind of a rebranding in some of those would be very exciting for the property. I think there are some things that we can look at, a 5-year plan, some amenities that if you look across the state of Oklahoma in gaming, some of these properties have already gone out and done some of the large pool areas, the event centers, the indoor event centers. There's tons of opportunity there, and I think that's where we look for expansion and growth.
Great. Now, it's hard to mention growth and development without stating the obvious, and that is, the effect and the impact that the coronavirus or COVID-19 has had on not just casino operations, but just business in general. Could you speak more to some of the protocols that we have in place, not just for our public, for people that are coming in, our guests, but also what we're doing on the employee side and just some of the overall, response to COVID, and then some of the protocols that we have implemented in our business operations?
Absolutely. So we require all employees to wear masks all the time. We are changing the floor layout as it sits right now to be more conducive to personal space while you're gaming. Where we can't do that, where it doesn't make sense, we're buying the partitions to give everybody a little more protection. We've added partitions at all of our payout stations to protect us, protect the guest. So I think we do a fantastic job of cleanliness. We sanitize the entire gaming floor every night, hotel rooms, office space. It's a massive undertaking, but it's one that's a top priority for us. So.
And you touch on something interesting, because I've always thought that, being around Downstream, I've always taken pride in our property because of its cleanliness. We set ourselves apart with our hospitality.
Absolutely.
And with our cleanliness. And that's something that I have noticed that hasn't fallen by the wayside at all since COVID has happened and impacted the business. You saw a downturn in March of last year. And then from there, it was already a clean property to begin with, and now it's elevated, to a new height, even more so.
Even more so because of the pandemic. I think it reinforced the standards that were already set here for obviously because of the pandemic, the importance of being clean, being sanitized, and I think it put that even more to the forefront for our guests and for our employees.
And speaking in terms of, just response to COVID-19, we've seen where, we've kind of had to redevelop our business model with our restaurants being open. I know that there's many trend studies and industry studies around whether or not buffets, are they a thing of the past? Are they going to reinvent to where it's more substations? Can you speak to that at all?
I think the buffet, as we knew it, is a thing of the past. We are currently looking at remodeling what we have and what does that look like, not only from a guest experience, because today's guest wants not only quality food but a quality experience when they come to a property, to an event, to a food and beverage outlet that we would provide. But also, how does that look during a pandemic? How does that look going forward if there is another issue? How do we properly lay this out? So we have met with a few architects and given some ideas. To me, it's probably more of little individual markets. It's spacing things out, but we'll just have to see what they come up with. We've given them a lot of good information. I'm excited to see what they come up with, Chairman.
Yeah, well, I appreciate the information and just, the ability to think and project into the future about where we take our business operations. And I think it's important to understand, there are times where within the COVID-19 pandemic, we had to shutter the doors and readjust and refocus our efforts to keep people safe and to balance that with having to turn the lights back on and keep the machines going, because in the end we have creditors, we have investors that we have to answer to, and a complete total business shutdown, that's not an available option for us.
It's a catastrophe.
Yeah.
We have expectations. To me, it's more of a dimmer switch than a light switch. We dial it up and we dial it back. I don't think we just turn it off. So there are other things we can require to take precautions if we need to before we shutter the doors.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think that's a valid point there. And I want to mention, so you've been here since November 1.
Yes.
So roughly 2 months. We're out of the first quarter. What have you been able to glean from being able to look at our numbers, and how do we stand performance-wise, specifically with profitability?
So the first 2 months of the quarter were a little difficult. We weren't open 24 hours. We saw, I think, probably some concern coming out. What we saw in December was record growth, year-over-year growth, month-over-month growth, revenue being up, operational expenses being down, labor being down. The return to the tribe is significantly up. So it was probably 16% over last year, and that's at a property this size, that's a pretty big number. So we are in a very good financial position, a very good quarter. Some of the best days that we've ever had, coin-in wise, happened within the last 30 days. So I think we are setting a very good trend. I look forward to what the next quarter can bring. So it should be a very good year for the property.
And just to kind of drill down into some of the data that you shared with us, December was an incredible month for this property. I mean, we were cooking with gas, man.
Absolutely. and we did have some challenges. I mean, COVID is still a thing. We're still dealing with issues, and out of an abundance of caution, we still have to make tough calls. So we're doing the best that we can, but we saw significant growth just in the month of December alone. And I can tell you right now, it's carried over into the month of January. It's going to be a record month for us as far as January goes. So I'm very excited.
Any predictions on, the near future as to what we're going to be doing with Downstream? Any events, any concerts, anything like that?
We are working on concerts right now, but as it sits right now, we have 3 architects in-house that will be providing us renderings for most of our food and beverage outlets. We have great food, great facility. We want to give some of these facilities a little bit of a refresh. So I think within a year, this property is going to look completely different. So
yeah,
I'm excited to see what comes out of it. So
and I think that, you touch on something that's very relevant in the conversation of COVID, and that is because we had to take a step back, or a dimmer, if you will.
Yes, we did.
It allowed us to refocus and focus on the things that make us money, and then focus and exercise expense management.
Absolutely.
And so those 2 factors there, taken into consideration, it's going to be able to put us in the right direction for the future. And I'm excited about where we're going, honestly.
I am too. It is taken off. The opportunity here, the successes that we have seen so far, I only see growing going forward. So I hope there is light at the end of the tunnel with COVID, but even amid this pandemic, we are seeing some huge successes, and I'm excited.
And everything that I stay in tune with the industry reports, and with COVID-19 pandemic, hospitality and the tourism sector really took a devastating hit. Because it's all mostly brick and mortar and face-to-face contact. And so with the COVID-19 vaccination rolling out, it's opening the ability up to travel more, at least the mindset or the perspective of those individuals. And I think we're going to see a period where there's going to be more travel. And so we need to be on the front end of that and focus our efforts, through marketing, through player development, and understand that we are a destination, and we'd love to have guests come and frequent our property.
Absolutely. What we have seen as of late is a more strategic, more honed-in view of our marketing program. I think before it was a much broader perspective, and we've been able to be a lot more precise. So I'm excited about that, what that will entail. So
great. Well, is there anything that you would like to share with the audience, the viewers at home, maybe something that they're unaware of, or they don't know, or maybe they've taken for granted and forgotten about it? A lot of times we have a focus that's really narrow on the downstream, and then sometimes we have to take a step back and realize, wow, we've come a long way in such a short amount of time. We have 2 hotel towers. We have a bison herd in the back of the property. We have our Q store. Is there anything that you'd care to share that?
And I just to what you spoke to, those things that the Quapaw have been able to accomplish and that they provide now, I believe, are very progressive. When you look at other tribes across the state, to me, I would say that they're very single-minded in gaming. There's so many other opportunities. Everyone wants to look for ways to employ tribal members to get out there and build their business. The Quapaw have done that. So there's so much outside of gaming and so many opportunities outside of gaming for the tribe. I think that's one thing that that they should be very proud of, and that we should also focus on. So it's progressive.
I echo that in terms of what we've been able to accomplish as a tribe, as a people, and really the name of the game is being able to diversify.
Absolutely.
Not putting all your eggs into one basket like gaming. Gaming has been a wonderful asset and a mechanism
Absolutely.
for us to gain such an incredible amount of wealth, but then the redistribution of that wealth has to be, implemented, because at the end of the day, Indian Gaming Regulatory Act was, created gaming for Native Americans, but the purpose was to take care of programs and their people and to put it back into their community, and education.
Education, for sure.
So, we're kind of a product of that, you and I.
Absolutely.
Where we started, and to see what all has been accomplished by all, Native tribes throughout the country, with the Downstream, it's just an added, a gem in the portfolio of the Paw Nation.
That's very well said. Very well said. The last thing I would say about some things to think about, the coffee that we have is amazing. We roast our own coffee. I'm a huge coffee fan. I love all of our coffee. It's
Have
phenomenal.
you taken a tour yet?
Yes, I have.
Okay, good.
Yes, I have. And I've bought a little bit of each one. So
Yeah.
I love coffee, and we make phenomenal coffee here. So it's exciting.
We plan on doing a future segment with the folks over at the
that's
coffee
fantastic.
house, and definitely bring them into the fold and kind of show a tour of the property. But yeah, they make good coffee.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Stuart, it's been a pleasure, and I don't think this will be the last time we speak like this. I'd love to have you as a guest on our show again.
Absolutely.
In the near
Would
future.
love to.
Maybe make it a quarterly thing just to kind of give a report. But is there anything else that you'd like to talk about? Anything that we haven't touched on that you'd want to mention?
No, I think we've covered quite a bit. I just wanted to say thank you. I appreciate the opportunity, and I'm excited about the future of Downstream. So.
Well, thank you for joining me today. It's been a pleasure as always, and looking forward to great things to come from you. And thank you and welcome aboard.
Thank you, Chairman.